A view of the Imperial Palace accompanies the thought that someone is dreaming again, as the scene is serene and misty, setting the ethereal tone. The setting shifts to the Crown Prince's residence, where the tranquil atmosphere envelops the sleeping figure inside, hinting at a deeper mystery. A worried woman, dressed in elegant attire, inquires about the Crown Prince's condition, addressing a doctor who seems anxious and overburdened with concern. The doctor, overwhelmed by the pressure, stammers to convey that the Crown Prince's pulse is undetectable, creating a tense atmosphere. The stern man in the room, likely a figure of authority, demands forgiveness with a serious demeanor, as a mysterious clicking sound hints at a dangerous situation. In a swift motion, the man draws a weapon, and a startled cry breaks the silence, suggesting an abrupt turn of events. The shock of the moment is compounded by the revelation that His Majesty has died in battle, introducing a sense of chaos and urgency. The woman contemplates the words about the lords at the border, realizing they are waiting for a significant opportunity, perhaps a political shift. The man fiercely states the Crown Prince's status as the sole heir, underscoring the gravity of the situation and his determination. His resolute expression is emphasized as he commands that no one should learn the secret he now holds. The woman's confusion is piqued as she questions the possibility of hidden truths, while a clatter indicates something unexpected has happened. The man demands to know who is present, reacting to the disturbance with authority as suspense builds in the scene. A young girl sits on the floor, surprised by her own predicament, while her innocent gaze meets the stern man's attention. The concerned woman asks the girl why she is there, offering comfort while the child expresses her distress, suggesting familiarity between them. The man silently realizes the girl's resemblance to the Crown Prince, identifying her as the prince's twin sister, adding complexity to the storyline. A mystical vision reveals the girl and her twin, who's apparently the only heir to the Yanhan Imperial family, alluding to their intertwined fates. Awakening from a traumatic dream, the girl considers whether it was just another nightmare, questioning her reality. A servant enters, her presence bringing the girl out of her reverie, as she gently inquires if the nightmare has recurred. Acknowledging the truth of her dream, the girl sits up, contemplating the surreal nature of her experiences with growing resolve. Reflecting on her past, the girl recalls taking her brother's place and ascending to a position of power, burdened with responsibility. The scene transitions to the grandeur of the throne room, symbolizing her ascension and the imperial duties she now shoulders. Introducing herself as Chu Fengshen, she states her authority as the Emperor of the Yanhan Empire, preparing for the day's obligations. Her servant notes an unexpected concern about her appearance, as a humorous moment unfolds in the preparation routine. Reflecting on the changes over the years, the servant jokes about the constancy of her chest size, evoking a playful response. The girl, indignantly asserting her status as emperor, humorously disputes the need for bosoms, refuting stereotypes with a pinch and banter. The majestic exterior of the throne room contrasts with the light-hearted previous exchange, signifying a return to duty. Concerned about her punctuality, the girl inquires about the time. Her servant informs her it's past the beginning of morning assembly. Frustration mounts as she questions the absence of others from the assembly, learning of an effective distraction and wondering at her ignorance. The news that others have reported to the Prince Regent for leave triggers her reflection on her titular role as emperor. The girl solemnly concludes that she is merely a puppet in the supreme chair, pondering the facade her position represents. Pei Yu is shown with a confident look, highlighted as the powerful Prince Regent being responsible for a significant impact on the current events. Huaking appears determined, considering the ministers as crafty and expressing a desire for change in the future. Jia is addressed informally by two attendants who question the emperor's sudden departure, trying to understand his intentions. Huaking resolves to put on a grand show for Pei Yu, showcasing her readiness for the challenge ahead. The arrival of His Majesty at Wai's mansion is announced, indicating a significant gathering. Huaking, dressed in formal attire, contemplates the effort spent on dealing with Wai Xian, who is known to be Pei Yu's subordinate. Inside Wai's mansion, a mock funeral setting with crying guests is depicted, leading onlookers to think the emperor might be deceased. He dramatically mourns for Wai Xian, lamenting his absence and expressing feelings of abandonment. In the presence of elders questioning the event, Hening leaps dramatically, clutching onto memories and concerns. Huaking reassures her commitment to find the true culprit, blaming Chu Fengshen while dealing with discomfort from her tight corset. Bystanders comment on the emperor's saddened state and perceived virtue, contrasting with the hidden intentions around him. Huiking feels a sense of accomplishment, believing she has cast doubts away from herself, and Pei Yu can no longer suspect her. Huiking is surprised to note Pei Yu's absence as attendees sympathize over her apparent despair for Weixin. The setting shifts back to the Imperial Palace, sparking Huiking's curiosity over unexpected developments. The Empress Dowager appears composed, questioning Huiking about her recent return with a sigh. Huiking laments her limited options, acknowledging her role in the current situation with decisive gestures. The Empress Dowager critiques the acting skills presented, mentioning the lack of cooperation from him, and emphasizes control. Speculation arises regarding Pei Yu's whereabouts as Huiking remains dismissive, lacking trust in his actions. Huiking accuses Pei Yu of planning trouble, only to be interrupted by urgent news brought by an attendant. The shocking revelation is delivered that Pei Yu seeks an audience, leaving both Huiking and the Empress Dowager visibly startled. An attendant attempts to intervene on behalf of the Empress Dowager's meeting, but the inquirer sees no necessity. Pei Yu enters the scene, calmly addressing the prevailing tension and seeking an interaction with Huiking. The Empress Dowager explains the Emperor's emotional exhaustion regarding Weixin, emphasizing the impact on him. Huiking feigns rest as the situation unfolds, hoping the others will divert Pei Yu's attention elsewhere. Pei Yu questions Huiking's state of consciousness, hinting at an awareness of her pretense. Pei Yu considers the harsh potential consequences for those in the Hall of Supreme Harmony, thinking aloud. Huiking, suddenly alert, registers Pei Yu's contemplation and reacts to the implications. With urgency, Huiking rises, attempting to intervene in Pei Yu's thought process. Huiking insists that the perceived threat has no connection to the discussed individuals, striving to divert Pei Yu's thoughts. Pei Yu, with a measured demeanor, inquires who Huiking believes should bear responsibility, pressing for her perspective. Jia considers who should be responsible for a situation, dismissing others' involvement and accepting responsibility herself. The Ministry of Justice reveals the finding that Marquis Weixin had conflicts with ministers before his murder, suggesting a visit to the ministry to clarify doubts. Huiking hesitates to go, skeptical that a criminal would willingly surrender, expressing her reluctance. Gu Jing inquires if Huiking feels guilty, surprising her with a sudden question. Gu Jing begins to suspect Huiking due to her lack of guilt, contemplating her possible secrets. Gu Jing thinks Huiking might be hiding something, which prompts him to investigate further. In response to an intruding action, Huiking reacts strongly, demanding Gu Jing to leave. Huiking assures she has nothing to hide and offers to visit the ministry for clarification. Huiking reflects on the supremacy of power held by a key figure in Yanhan, feeling uneasy about their influence. Gu Jing's presence causes Huiking to feel intimidated, but she reassures herself of her maturity. Feeling defiant, Huiking prepares to face any challenge, no matter the schemes involved. Huiking acknowledges that Gu Jing is the minister in charge, understanding the gravity of the situation. Huiking is reminded of Gu Jing's fearsome reputation as rumors of his harsh methods circulate. Led by a servant, Huiking and Gu Jing proceed through the halls. Huiking feels uneasy, surprised by an unexpected daze. Gu Jing's calm demeanor contrasts with Huiking's nervousness as he asks if she's scared. Huiking denies feeling scared, trying to maintain her composure despite her inner turmoil. Gu Jing offers comfort to Huiking, suggesting she hold his hand if frightened. Huiking declines Gu Jing's offer, choosing to keep her distance while remaining vigilant. A menacing figure lurks, startling Huiking with its eerie presence. Despite the unease, Huiking tries to maintain dignity while walking alongside Gu Jing. Huiking contemplates the independence of the Ministry of Justice, led by the righteous Gu Jing. A guard informs Huiking and Gu Jing that Minister Gu is occupied with interrogations and can't meet them. Gu Jing considers the possibility of insisting on visiting Minister Gu, causing Huiking surprise. The mention of a potentially gruesome scene deters Huiking, making her apprehensive about proceeding. As screams echo, Huiking feels overwhelmed by the intensity of the interrogation scene. Rattled by the experience, Huiking decides against meeting, retreating from the situation. Outside the palace, Gu Jing wishes Huiking a good rest, hoping she can have a peaceful dream. Within the palace, Huiking lies on a bed, restless and longing to return to her familiar place. Gu Jing is informed of Huiking's departure, turning thoughtful upon hearing the news. After confirming that those aware of the truth have been dealt with, Gu Jing is satisfied with the completion of his orders. A masked figure approaches a royal figure, expressing confusion and seeking clarity on certain matters. Beneath a starry night sky, a character questions the reasoning behind not disclosing a royal's involvement in an incident, suggesting an unexpected course of action. A mysterious figure with long hair considers the consequences of past actions and the need to prevent future danger. The masked figure appears shocked, reacting to the revelation of using fear as a tactic. The scene shifts to a report of a minister's return to the capital, hinting at political intrigue in the moonlit backdrop. The royal figure gives a stern command to ensure vigilance over the minister, hinting at deadly consequences for odd behavior. In the Imperial garden, Pu expresses frustration, blaming another for a recent ordeal involving the Ministry of Justice. Huiking laments about the stress and sleeplessness caused by the situation, fearing for her own safety and relationship. A discussion of future strategies unfolds in a pavilion setting, focusing on regaining military power and leveraging relationships. Huiking raises concerns about the lack of suitable relatives from the Chu family, faced with a bold assertion. A conversation touches on family planning, with humor about gender roles and expectations for having children. Huiking decides on selecting a husband for the princess to strengthen military ties, prompting curiosity about the identity of the princess. Hining makes a confident appearance, noted to be the princess in question. The tension between identity and roles is highlighted, recognizing Henning's technical lack of official status. Huiking queries Henning on her plans for finding a husband, displaying interest in Henning's approach. Hining confidently claims to have a well-thought-out plan for finding a suitor. Hining reflects on her strategy, which involves using official announcements to find talented suitors. The plan is elaborated, describing a competition open to talented individuals regardless of background. Hining envisions selecting the best candidate from the array of young talents available to her. The idea of choosing from ministerial families is considered but quickly dismissed due to political affiliations. Pu's influence over potential candidates is acknowledged, influencing the selection process. Huiking raises concerns about the Prince Regent's reaction to the quest for a husband. Henning assures her of prior planning. With confidence, Henning dismisses potential fallout from the Prince Regent, believing her actions irreversible. In the throne room, an announcement is made to bring forward the top candidates from a recent examination. Henning jests about the appearance of the candidates, having heard a rumor about the nature of wisdom. The candidates' attendants present themselves, showcasing impressive appearances that defy expectations. Hining is visibly surprised by the attractive attendants, who were unexpected given the earlier remarks. A court official clarifies that the attendants aren't the real candidates, prompting curiosity. The actual candidates, older men, step forward, humorously contrasting with expectations. The official extols the virtues of these seasoned, distinguished candidates, underscoring their hidden brilliance. The princess expresses her frustration over an unsuitable marriage proposal, questioning a decision made without age limits on candidates and the difficulty of the exam. The princess angrily confronts her advisor for the difficult questions, while he explains he was merely following orders. A mysterious figure announces their presence, taking responsibility for the exam questions as footsteps echo in the hall. Pu greets the princess with a formal tone, as he presents himself confidently at the entrance of the hall. The princess is shocked at Pu's sudden return, wondering why he has come back earlier than expected. Pu reveals he hurried back because he heard about the princess's search for a husband, offering his assistance. The princess firmly rejects Pu's help, questioning his intentions for the candidates gathered for her. Pu suggests sending the candidates to the princess's residence for her to choose, but she declines. Pu insists on assisting her, snapping a fan open with a confident gesture. The princess instructs Minister Lai to issue an imperial decree, pausing her marriage plans for the time being. Pu advises that the top candidates be appointed to positions, while others are given places in the Yan Academy. Officials respectfully agree to Pu's plan, affirming their understanding with a unified response. The princess calls out, asking for a moment to deliberate before finalizing decisions. Pu courteously suggests the princess reach out to him when she decides to choose a husband. He emphasizes his skill in evaluating candidates, offering his insight and assistance for the princess's choice. Pu leaves with a confident demeanor, his laughter echoing as he exits the scene. Jia surprisingly finds Pu returned, indicating his unexpected presence causes surprise. The princess calls for Pu, indicating a sense of urgency or frustration as she addresses him. The princess asserts that Pu asked for this confrontation, preparing to use her strategy. In her elegant attire, Henning decides to take charge of her situation by choosing her own path. Henning resolves to actively seek out a suitable husband, expressing her determination to find the right person. The narrative explains the importance of Yan and Liusheng academies, portraying them as centers of talented scholars. However, the Yan Academy has a reputation for breeding dissent, contrary to its prestigious facade. Liusheng Academy stands apart, maintaining a reputation for not participating in imperial exams and upholding noble standards. This academy is home to reputable scholars who have not been tainted by the political aspirations of the Yan Academy. Henning is awestruck by the grandeur of the Liusheng Academy, experiencing its impressive reputation firsthand. A student cries out for his invitation to be returned, revealing a scene of conflict and distress. The bully accuses the student of stealing the invitation, threatening violence to reclaim it. Henning steps in, challenging the bully's actions and asserting her presence. The bully, angrily faced by Henning's interruption, demands to know her identity and rudely insists she leave. Henning stands confidently, stating that if someone isn't afraid to die, they should confront her. A character is struck by Henning's dominating aura, deciding it's lucky for her to leave. Henning checks if a gentleman is okay, while onlookers express admiration for her. A despondent character reflects on lost chances to see Mr. Fu after participating in a selection, regretting giving up a top position. In despair, the character contemplates the brilliance of child Fu Kushui and questions the purpose of their life without seeing him again. Henning wonders about Fu Kushui's excellence and muses on the idea of making him her husband. Henning offers an invitation to a blushing character, resolutely telling them to take it. The character is overwhelmed and teary, questioning if Henning is genuinely giving them the invitation. The character wonders what Henning will do without the invitation showing concern. Henning reassures with a smile, signaling a victory gesture, saying she has other ways, while Jia thanks her gratefully. Jia is in shock as Henning's other ways involve stomping actions. Henning climbs over a wall with Jia's help, urging herself onward despite the situation being unofficial. Henning questions if there's a better plan while catching her breath on the wall. Henning successfully reaches the top, feeling accomplished for the endeavor. Henning is startled by an unexpected presence, leading her to lose balance. With a swift jump, Gu Jing catches Henning as they both tumble down. Henning complains about her painful landing as Gu Jing checks on her and chuckles. Henning feels certain Gu Jing is laughing at her, feeling embarrassed. Gu Jing offers his hand to help Henning up, his tone gentle. Henning declines the help with a witty remark about Gu Jing's interest in wall climbing. Both share a laugh as they enter the elegant Liusheng Academy together, taking in the view. Gu Jing signals for silence, noticing something amiss in the surroundings. Henning and Gu Jing hide as someone approaches, sharing a moment of caution. Henning is distracted by Gu Jing's scent, wondering about its source. Nearby guards question if their suspicions are mere hallucinations, leaving the intruders hidden. Peeking from behind a rock, Henning and Gu Jing acknowledge that only scholars should be at the academy, not wall climbers. Gu Jing apologizes formally for the situation, which Henning accepts in gratitude. Gu Jing expresses thanks despite admitting his improper behavior in the encounter. Gu Jing suggests an alternative entry into the main hall, revealing his knowledge of a hidden route, much to Henning's relief and gratitude. Successfully and stealthily inside, they relish their unnoticed entry into the academy's grounds. Henning enters a crowded hall, curious about Fu Kushui's presence among the sea of people. Gu Jing catches her attention unexpectedly, standing out in the crowd. Alarmed, Henning recognizes Pei Yu and is visibly shocked. Observing Henning, Gu Jing queries her distress and points out her hiding behavior. Pei Yu questions Henning's actions, wondering if she's avoiding someone, while Henning is anxious about Pei Yu's presence. Pei Yu reflects silently, understanding the situation involves another person. Henning, apprehensive, hopes she went unnoticed by Pei Yu. Panic overwhelms Henning as she internally expresses how disastrous it would be if she were caught. The scene shifts to Liusheng Academy's event, setting the stage for an intellectual gathering. Fu Kushui offers Henning a seat, explaining the customary seating arrangement for female guests. With reassurance, Fu Kushui tells Henning that sitting behind the screen keeps her hidden from the view of others. Relieved, Henning thanks him, glad Pei Yu didn't notice her, fearing consequences otherwise. As Fu Kushui plans to check the main hall for better seating, the ambience lightens. Reflecting on Fu Kushui's kindness, Henning ponders his character, considering his potential as an ally. Despite appreciating Fu Kushui, Henning distrusts Peiyu's intentions and remains wary. The atmosphere shifts as Fu Kushui's arrival is announced, capturing people's attention. Fu Kushui apologizes for the delay, his appearance greeted warmly by the assembly. Henning is taken aback, realizing Fu Kushui's identity and status, which stuns her. Henning worries about her demeanor, questioning how it affects her reputation as Fu Kushui interacts familiarly with others. As Fu Kushui engages with others, Henning feels a mix of admiration and anxiety, uncertain about the attention she's receiving. Observing Fu Kushui more closely, Henning finds herself acknowledging his appeal and struggles to maintain composure. Two attendees express admiration for Fu Kushui's presence, captivated by his elegance. With everyone assembled, Fu Kushui commands the room's attention as he prepares to start the meeting. Fu Kushui officially begins the meeting, setting a professional tone for what lies ahead. He addresses the group's concerns, mentioning the year's harsh flood in the south and its impact. A participant attributes blame on the emperor, arguing negligence and accountability. Others align with this thought, extending the blame to additional natural disasters, labeling the emperor as a tyrant. Tension rises as Henning struggles with the escalating criticism, worried about the scholar's intensity. Henning's internal struggle features a figurative battle, trying to calm her fiery outrage against the accusations. Peiyu counters the room's sentiments, arguing that blaming natural events on a single person is irrational and oversimplified. Huiking is surprised to hear someone say such words, considering she has always been a scapegoat. She thinks that this man might be a suitable candidate for her husband. Fu Kushui discusses how the Imperial court is to blame for the disasters not being resolved. Huiking is shocked by Fu Kushui's bold statement about the emperor being incompetent and realizes she supported the wrong person, spitting out a drink in surprise. The setting is a meeting room where other characters praise Mr. Fu's idea and wait for his opinion, shown by the placement of a cup on the table. Peiyu enters the scene with a fan, expressing disagreement with the ongoing discussion. Others recognize him, questioning his presence there. Gu Jing is curious about Peiyu's opinion, referring to him as Your Royal Highness, and wondering what insights he will provide. Peiyu modestly responds that his idea is not brilliant while others at the table listen attentively. Peiyu explains that after the old emperor's passing, the country fell into chaos and other nations might plan to attack, making the current situation difficult. He continues, acknowledging that the emperor was only 10 years old when he ascended the throne and has faced many challenges since then. Despite some poor decisions, they were due to youthful inexperience. Huiking tells the group that the emperor is working hard to improve the country, while everyone else is complacent and does nothing but engage in witty banter. Peiyu questions who gave Huiking the right to criticize His Majesty, challenging her authority in the situation. Gu Jing claps his hands, commending Huiking on her ability to speak and praising her influence over the ministers. Gu Jing states that as long as the Prince Regent is in court, they need no worries. His reassurance suggests everything will be fine without external input. The scene focuses on the eyes of Peiyu and Gu Jing as they engage in a silent battle of wits, each contemplating their next move. The intense stare-off between Gu Jing and Peiyu draws the attention of onlookers, creating a tense atmosphere as they refrain from interfering. Two characters discuss how Confucius advised on silent contemplation in the face of uncertainty, humorously trying to change the subject of the discussion. Huiking is impressed with Fu Kushui's ability to stand up to Peiyu without fear, contemplating his impressive demeanor. Her thoughts drift back to Peiyu, questioning the sincerity behind his words from the earlier conversation. Huiking continues to ponder whether Peiyu truly meant what he said, as smoke swirls in the background, hinting at her uncertainty. Startled, Huiking suddenly wakes up, confused about how she fell asleep, her hair disheveled and eyes wide. A character informs Huiking that she is awake, mentioning she was in a deep sleep, and apologizes for not waking her earlier. Huiking, feeling embarrassed, questions how she fell asleep as the other character suggests it happened at the beginning of the meeting. A view of the night sky is accompanied by Huiking's realization that it is late. She panics, thinking about potential issues with the palace gates closing. Gu Jing offers to arrange a carriage for Huiking, but she declines, stating her residence is close enough to walk. As Huiking hurriedly leaves, Gu Jing attempts to ask for her name, noting her rush and expressing mild curiosity. In a more private moment, Peiyu comments on the leisurely nature of court life while musing over how Huiking waited outside his residence for 2 hours. Peiyu dismisses the significance of his waiting outside, claiming it's nothing out of the ordinary. Peiyu mentions he's waiting for a pet kitten that hasn't returned home yet, hinting at a more tender side. Huiking finds herself caught in the rain, reflecting on how the weather changed so abruptly from sunny to rainy. She regretfully realizes she should have let the chauffeur and Jia take her home instead, calling herself foolish as she walks through the rain-soaked. Peiyu suddenly appears in front of Huiking, causing her to cry out in shock as she bumps into him unexpectedly. The sudden collision causes Huiking to stumble backward, falling with a bump as a barrel rolls off the side. Huiking apologizes for the collision as Peiyu asks if she is alright, concerned for her well-being. Huiking hears Peiyu's familiar voice and is surprised, realizing it's him despite the obscured view in the rain. He reminds her about an umbrella she's forgotten. Huiking tries to calm herself, hoping Peiyu cannot recognize her under the dim light and rain, while thinking of a plan to get through the situation. Peiyu offers to escort Huiking home, and she quickly decides to accept his offer to avoid suspicion. Huiking considers her options. If Peiyu behaves, she will stay calm, but she is prepared to run if necessary. Huiking wonders why Peiyu appeared suddenly and questions if the rain is a test from fate, feeling nervous and uncertain. As the rain stops, Huiking notes the change in weather and acknowledges the sudden clarity despite the night. Huiking prepares to leave as Peiyu bids her farewell, reminding her to be careful in the future. Peiyu tells Huiking he hopes she won't go out so late again, as someone might worry about her. Huiking assumes Peiyu hasn't recognized her identity and feels relieved, turning away as someone calls out. Jia rushes toward Huiking, expressing her worry and relief in a dramatic display, fearing for her safety. Jia continues to express her worry, clinging to Huiking and demanding compensation for her emotional distress. The scene shifts to the next day at a relief camp out of the city, indicating a change of setting. Jia cautions Huiking about the dangers of the location, but Huiking insists on seeing Fu Kushui, who is holding a consultation for victims. Huiking is determined to meet Fu Kushui before Peiyu, motivated by her previous experiences. As Huiking moves through the camp, she warns others to be careful, noting an elderly man's struggle for food. Huiking questions the poor conditions of the camp, wondering about the lack of resources in conversation with others. A distressed child cries out in pain, drawing attention to their dire situation and the inadequacy of the camp's provisions. Huiking and Jia, noticing the commotion, seek attention from those around them to address the issue. Fu Kushui approaches the crying child to assess the situation, inquiring about the problem with concern. Onlookers speculate about the potential spread of disease following a flood and consider reporting to authorities. Fu Kushui warns the onlookers of the consequences of irresponsible talk, hinting at severe repercussions. Fu Kushui emphasizes the gravity of spreading false information, shocking the onlookers with their reaction. A bystander recounts the tragic history of past epidemic and the harsh measures taken to control it, adding context. Fu Kushui questions a young girl about her recent meals, concerned for her health and the conditions she's endured. The little girl explains her brother sacrificed his food for her and resorted to eating worms due to starvation. Huiking listens sympathetically, surrounded by people discussing their hunger and struggles within the camp. Huiking asks Jia about the camp's leadership, learning that Governor Zhao was responsible for the relief efforts. Princess Henning is upset about the lack of progress with the refugees in the capital. The relief grain hasn't been touched for years, and she wonders how the camp ended in such a state. She thinks even though Peiyu is handling the relief, she can intervene if needed. Princess Henning instructs someone to ask Governor Zhao to meet her. She asserts that despite Peiyu's strength, she can still challenge him if necessary. The messenger responds nervously. Fu Kushui is carrying a child on his back at the relief camp, asking a little girl for help moving a cabinet. The child responds with enthusiasm. Princess Henning steps forward to help with moving something. The young girl thanks her for her assistance. Fu Kushui recognizes Princess Henning and mentions her leaving without introducing herself previously. She responds politely to his greeting. Princess Henning introduces herself, offering to assist. She refers to herself with a slightly humble tone, adding a note about her royal background. Fu Kushui accepts Princess Henning's offer enthusiastically, acknowledging the need for help. Walking together, Fu Kushui leads the way to a tent, expressing surprise at Princess Henning's knowledge of medical expertise while appreciating her kindness. Internally, Princess Henning wonders about Peiyu, contemplating her competitive spirit against him. Princess Henning is walking beside a mysterious figure, and she inwardly dismisses them as inexperienced, with a hint of amusement. The relief camp is shown from a distance with several figures moving around, indicating activity outside the city. A child is shown sleeping peacefully while Fu Kushi confirms that everything is in order now, suggesting they are safe. Princess Henning reflects on the children who lost their parents, feeling sympathy for their situation. She considers the dire circumstances they face, expressing concern about one child's suggestion to eat worms. Fu Kushi responds to her concerns, explaining that extreme hunger can lead a person to eat anything, placing an emphasis on survival. Fu Kushi shares a somber thought on disasters, highlighting the struggle for those who survive. Princess Henning notices Fu Kushi's expression, perceiving a smile that masks a deeper sadness. Princess Henning wonders quietly if Fu Kushi had experienced personal suffering from disasters before as she observes their surroundings. Princess Henning addresses Fu Kushi with determination as she makes a suggestion. She urges Fu Kushi to join the Imperial court, praising his talents and the potential impact he could have in helping others. Fu Kushi looks thoughtful about the suggestion. He responds, indicating he will consider her offer. The next day, a cheerful child greets Princess Henning as people move in the background of the relief camp. Princess Henning is asked about the child's well-being. The child happily confirms they are feeling much better. Princess Henning teasingly hints at a special treat she brought, prompting excitement from the children about receiving a meat bun. Fu Kushi arrives and the children notice. Princess Henning expresses gratitude for his help over recent days, to which he responds modestly. Princess Henning and Fu Kushi decide to get to work. She reflects inwardly that regardless of his past, they have time to build a relationship. Fu Kushi envisions a future where Princess Henning's charm wins him over, leading to their success together. Princess Henning wakes up confused, wondering how she fell asleep yet again. She notes feeling drowsy whenever around Fu Kushi, implying there's something unusual in these encounters. She notices a familiar fragrance, prompting curiosity about its familiarity and the potential reasons behind it. Gu Jing notices Jia has awakened and expresses concern about her working too hard recently. He mentions that she has been resting. Jia is surprised to find a recommendation letter. She questions Gu Jing if he's planning to take the Imperial examination, to which he simply responds with agreement. Gu Jing reflects on a recent conversation, agreeing it was right. He considers how as a minister he could help many more people, compared to just helping family and friends as an ordinary citizen. Jia encourages Gu Jing enthusiastically, amazed that their efforts are paying off, holding the letter with excitement. Despite the enthusiasm, Gu Jing admits he is not confident in his abilities to perform well in the Imperial examinations, fearing disappointing results. A comforting voice reassures Gu Jing that he shouldn't worry about his concerns. Jia offers her assistance to help Gu Jing study. She also reveals her family's connections to the Imperial court as a reassurance. As Jia runs off excitedly, Gu Jing calls after her, telling her to await good news as she quickly departs. A shadowy figure questions Gu Jing mockingly, suggesting his drugs were ineffective since Jia seemed energetic. Gu Jing clarifies it wasn't poison. The figure accuses Gu Jing of suspicious behavior for making Jia rest in the tent for hours each day and questions his intentions. Gu Jing thinks to himself that he's pretending to be swayed into official affairs by Jia to avoid Piyu's suspicions. Gu Jing internally reveals that Jia, his confidant, is the most cherished by Piyu, alluding to her importance. The scene shifts to the Prince Regent's mansion, highlighting a peaceful morning with chirping birds and stacks of books inside. Piyu is encouraged to have ginseng soup by an attendant, who is concerned for his health. The attendant comments on Piyu's dedication to reading relief reports, urging him to care for his well-being, to which Piyu agrees. Ding Shui is scolded for allowing Piyu to catch a cold after being caught in the rain. The atmosphere shifts as His Majesty arrives. Jia stands determined, reminding herself not to appear cowardly now that she's present. She psychs herself up, believing she must acquire the exam questions today, fearless of the risk. Jia inquires about Peiyu's whereabouts, only to be told to wait in the study as he attends to important matters. Feeling disregarded, Jia grumbles about not being the most important to Piyu. Jia is informed that she could study the exam paper left at the desk, suggesting Piyu will arrive once she finishes. She finds it unusual that she'd be left with an emperor's exam papers at a minister's mansion, feeling incredulous about it. A brief transition shows the passage of 2 hours, marking the time lapse. Jia struggles with the challenging exam, feeling frustrated and questioning if Piyu is mocking her by ignoring her. A cat appears, surprising Jia, who questions its presence, learning it's the Prince Regent's pet, Sweetie. Jia questions the odd name of the cat, trying to understand the significance behind it. Sweetie is described as having been with the Prince Regent since kittenhood. The attendant compares its appearance to the prince, which displeases Jia. Feeling challenged by the cat's perceived arrogance, Jia expresses irritation and hits the table in frustration. Another remark is made about the cat's similarity to its master. Jia notes their matching dispositions, reflecting on past experiences with Pei Yu. Jia contemplates her inability to get information from Governor Zhao, reflecting on the previous evening's events in the West Courtyard. Huaking stands outside the mansion, reflecting on her decision to investigate. She wonders why Pei Yu is avoiding her and what his plans might be. Seeing Pei Yu, Huaking demands an explanation about the disaster relief funds. Pei Yu insists he did not take them. Pei Yu defends himself, stating the funds were used for military supplies needed for the southern disaster. He adds that as a governor, he can't control the refugees without financial support. Huaking is skeptical about the military supplies account and questions the responsibility of General Hu Feng in the matter. The governor suggests that the general isn't entirely to blame. Huaking considers the threat of the neighboring Jumo state, stressing the importance of strengthening military power. She reflects on the long-standing issues of impoverishment and the court's instability. Lingering concerns arise about the state's vulnerability. Huaking likens the state to a defenseless bird, fearing they could fall prey to others if they're not vigilant. As Huaking processes these thoughts, she's suddenly interrupted by Jia, whose unexpected entrance surprises her. Huaking sits down to write, expressing her desire for her people to live happily despite persistent tragedies. She questions her capabilities, wondering if she's working hard enough or if she's even qualified for her role. Gu Jing enters, apologizing for the wait and mentioning that he's brought the exam content Huaking requested. Huaking is surprised by Gu Jing's offer to provide the exam materials. She confirms if he is really offering them to her. Gu Jing reassures Huaking that she can have the materials for as long as she needs. He promises to give her anything she requires, showing his dedication to supporting her. A servant rushes in, delivering a massive stack of documents that crashes onto the table. Huaking is taken aback by the sheer volume of materials brought in. Overwhelmed, Huaking exclaims there's too much content. Gu Jing explains the materials are comprehensive notes on national policy and military tactics. He asks if Huaking wants them delivered to the palace. Gu Jing questions whether these books will be useful to her, showing concern for her workload. As Huaking pets a small animal, she reflects on her extensive reading, lamenting that despite her efforts, tragedies continue to occur. Huaking ponders the futility of her efforts, feeling that regardless of how hard she tries, she can't make things right. Feeling inadequate, Huaking tells Gu Jing that her people still view her as a tyrant. Gu Jing advises Huaking to disregard public opinion, suggesting that someone in her position must focus on the bigger picture. Gu Jing holds a kitten and remarks that it's not Huaking who isn't good enough, but rather the world around her. An announcement is made in the throne room for the top candidates of the Imperial examination to approach the court. Fu Kushui is noted as the top-ranking candidate, praised for mastering the examination with ease and winning first place. Fu Kushui respectfully greets the assembly as he steps forward in the court. Huaking acknowledges Fu Kushui, feeling unexpectedly calm despite the familiar setting of the ceremony. Sitting confidently, Huaking enjoys her role as she teases the candidates, asking if someone startled them. Outside, attention turns to a chubby little bird. Its injured wings have left it unable to fly. Jia explains that despite its appearance, the bird is an impressive gerfalcon, intriguing those gathered. Huaking is surprised by its true identity. Huaking pokes the bird playfully, enjoying its chirps. She is informed that Mr. Fu has arrived to see her. Fu Kushui greets Huaking formally, prepared to deliver his news or requests to her. Chu Fengshan stands confidently, contemplating whether Fu Kushui might recognize him, despite his efforts to disguise himself, including drawing on thick eyebrows to alter his appearance. Fu Kushui reminisces about a close friend he has who reminds him of Henning. He reflects on a moment in the throne room when he was so startled that he forgot his manners. Fu Kushui reveals that the friend he mentioned is actually his sister, Henning. He ponders why the Royal Highness decided to keep Henning's identity a secret. Fu Kushui contemplates that the secret might be a way to tease him, though there were reasons behind the concealment. Chu Fengshan addresses the group, announcing that since they have all passed the Imperial examination, they need to prepare for the next step. Pei Yu interrupts to explain that the next stage involves attending a second round of examination. Chu Fengshen is surprised and questions Pei Yu's statement about the second round, expressing unfamiliarity with this development. Pei Yu clarifies that the event may not be an examination per se, but rather a chance to gather young talents for a hunting game due to the pleasant weather. Pei Yu expresses confidence that someone as talented as Fu Kushui will surely excel in the hunting game, while Fu Kushui acknowledges the efforts taken for talent selection. Pei Yu remarks on how it's his responsibility to assist His Majesty with business matters, and Fu Kushui offers to share the workload if he becomes an official. Chu Fengshen is taken aback by the exchange between Pei Yu and Fu Kushui, expressing confusion. Chu Fengshen decides to act independently, seemingly overwhelmed by the conversation and implications. Pei Yu confidently tells Chu Fengshen to watch events unfold, implying that there's more to come. Chu Fengshen accuses Pei Yu of deliberately complicating matters, complaining about sleepless nights due to decisions that need to be made. Pei Yu advises Chu Fengshen to find a suitable person for an undisclosed purpose, leaving Chu Fengshen skeptical of his intentions. Chu Fengshen is encouraged by Pei Yu to eat more and grow stronger, so she can eventually overcome certain challenges. Jia enters the scene with a final report for the Royal Majesty. Jia relates how she has discovered a significant clue regarding the ashes Chu Fengshen brought back a few days prior. Jia questions why Fu Kushui was allowed to win first place in the examination, given rumors of his unsavory connections revealed by past investigations. Pei Yu nonchalantly mentions the Majesty's recent focus on leisure and work, flippantly asking a nearby creature for agreement. Jia expresses concern about the potential danger if Fu Kushui actually becomes an official. Pei Yu states that while winning relies on Fu Kushui's skills, staying by someone's side depends on his judgment. Pei Yu muses that it's ultimately up to him to decide Fu Kushui's qualifications to remain close to those in power. The scene shifts to a peaceful view of the hunting ground, suggesting an impending event. Chu Fengshen, along with Pei Yu, discusses a newfound interest in hunting, highlighting concerns about someone's intentions. Pei Yu offers to teach Chu Fengshen archery, met with her retort affirming she knows how to use a bow. Chu Fengshen hesitates upon spotting a deer, expressing doubt about proceeding with the hunt. Pei Yu observes that Chu Fengshen seems unusually preoccupied, possibly affecting her ability to hunt. Pei Yu encourages Chu Fengshen to seize every opportunity to successfully capture prey. Pei Yu advises that some prey are adept at hiding, and a skilled hunter must give them space to reveal themselves. Huiqing feels the closeness of Chu Fengshen. Her thoughts focus on their proximity and the effect it has on her. Huiqing confronts Gu Jing with urgency, questioning what has happened. Her determination is evident in her stance. A guard kneels before Gu Jing, addressing him as Your Royal Highness, and urgently reports about a group of unknown people appearing in the northwest sector of the hunting ground. These people are identified as refugees who were repatriated several days ago. Gu Jing is puzzled by the mention of refugees, and Huiqing's surprise is noticeable as she reacts to the news. Gu Jing takes charge, instructing the guard to show him the way. Huiqing stands by his side, ready to follow the path they need to take. The guard agrees to lead them. Huiqing, puzzled and determined, questions if something is amiss by addressing Gu Jing as Your Majesty and seeking his attention. Fu Kushui appears, and Huiqing wonders why he is present. She recognizes him and notes that Fu Kushui is really there. Fu Kushui explains to Huiqing that he was also hunting for deer. His presence is casual yet purposeful. Fu Kushui warns Huiqing about the presence of refugees in the area and suggests that it's dangerous to stay alone. He invites her to join him and meet the others, showing concern for her safety. Huiqing agrees to Fu Kushui's suggestion. There's a simple acknowledgement of the situation and the urgency to act. As they walk, Fu Kushui chats with Huiqing about the situation, pondering why the refugees have reappeared instead of returning to their hometowns. He speculates that they might not have trusted the court to send them back safely. Huiqing questions Fu Kushui's theory, wondering why the refugees would think they cannot trust the court. Fu Kushui recounts an event from 12 years ago when a flood and cold winter left many sick. He explains that refugees gathered at the gate of the capital seeking medical help. Fu Kushui continues with the story, explaining how the refugees begged for days until the gate was finally opened, detailing the atmosphere of desperation. He reveals with a heavy tone that the awaited assistance was not what the refugees met when the gate opened. Huiqing is shocked to learn that instead of salvation, the refugees encountered a massacre. Her reaction is intense and filled with disbelief. Fu Kushui narrates that the invincible Haibane cavalry, working for the previous emperor, were responsible for killing the citizens outside the capital, highlighting the brutality. Huiqing, deep in thought, recognizes a familiar fragrance and realizes they are not on the path back to the base. Her awareness piques her curiosity and concern. In a new confrontation, a figure asks Fu Kushui if they should eliminate someone. Fu Kushui dismisses the idea, saying it isn't necessary. Huiqing lies unconscious, and Fu Kushui reflects on the events 12 years ago, determined to seek out the real criminal. He discusses letting someone temporarily disappear. Fu Kushui expresses that if that person were dead, it would deeply sadden his warm-hearted friend, hinting at his complex motivations. Huiqing regains consciousness and prepares herself for what's ahead, thankful she came prepared. She expresses relief at not fainting from the effects. Huiqing commands an unseen group to reveal themselves, preparing for an impending confrontation and asserting her leadership. Asserting control, Huiqing strategically divides the group. She instructs one half to go northwest to protect refugees from guards and asks the rest to join her in finding Pei Yu. Huiqing coldly states her readiness to eliminate anyone obstructing their mission, underscoring her resolve. A reflection on the past surfaces, the strategy of protecting the emperor being questioned for its sensibility as Huiqing contemplates past actions 12 years ago. Chu Fengshan appears, injured, with someone questioning if this is the situation he foresaw, highlighting his current vulnerability. Chu Fengshan, facing Fu Kushui, is confronted by the revelation that Fu Kushui is part of a group involved in the past massacre. Fu Kushui accuses Chu Fengshan of showing no mercy when the people pleaded, holding him accountable for previous actions. Fu Kushui cynically questions Chu Fengshan about who would come to his rescue now, implying a sense of karmic justice, while Chu Fengshan's response remains calm. Fu Kushui is attacked with a sword and reacts quickly, sensing danger. Fu Kushui demands to know who is attacking, spotting Hanning ready with a bow. Gu Jing realizes something surprising and curses the situation under his breath as Pei Yu appears. Fu Kushui confronts Pei Yu about his control over the court, questioning whether killing him would please the majesty. Hanning calmly identifies Pei Yu as the highest-ranking minister present, standing confidently. Pei Yu challenges Henning's authority to question his actions, emphasizing the boundaries of judgment. Fu Kushui, confident, asks if they really think the battle is already won and challenges the outcome. Hanning senses a dangerous fragrance in the air and advises those around to hold their breath. Hanning ensures that Pei Yu is safe from the fragrance by staying close, while he coughs slightly. Fu Kushui remarks on the majesty's ignorance as a cracking sound interrupts the moment. Fu Kushui claims to be the most qualified to judge Pei Yu, recalling the past when Pei Yu led the Haibane cavalry. Fu Kushui accuses Pei Yu of slaughtering his relatives during an uprising 12 years ago. Pei Yu questions whether such a person should even deserve to live after those deeds. Hanning warns Fu Kushui that further actions could be considered regicide if he advances. Fu Kushui requests Hanning to move aside, indicating that the majesty is in danger. Gu Jing sees an opportunity to reclaim power, suggesting that eliminating a rival would strengthen authority. Hanning steps forward in disagreement, refusing to let Gu Jing's plan unfold. Pei Yu sincerely expresses his belief to the majesty, hoping to convey the situation calmly. Pei Yu humorously points out Fu Kushui's valid argument, but Hanning firmly demands silence. Fu Kushui warns that he will take action without hesitation if required, moving decisively. Fu Kushui is caught off guard by unexpected reinforcements surrounding him. Pei Yu calmly reveals to Fu Kushui that he anticipated a trap and came prepared. Pei Yu recounts the events from 12 years ago, accusing Fu Kushui of mislabeling those involved as sick when they were hostile. Pei Yu explains that the court had offered treatments freely, but the desperate tried to force entry with weapons, no longer innocents. Pei Yu states firmly that not letting those people ensured city safety, questioning any regrets. Fu Kushui acknowledges the Prince Regent's persuasive words, but remains critical of the situation. Fu Kushui admits defeat, but Hanning corrects that he is mistaken in his understanding. Hanning defends Pei Yu's actions, attributing them to a direct order and their ethical considerations. Hanning accuses Fu Kushui of using the innocent for vengeance, leading them to their doom. Fu Kushui stands silently, realizing he has lost the right to harbor resentment any longer. Passersby discuss how Fu Kushui has been identified as an assassin. With accomplices that were exposed during the Imperial examination, leading to their arrest by the Prince Regent. A physician reports that the prince's injury has been bandaged and only rest is necessary for recovery. Chu Fengshan thanks the doctor and excuses himself, accompanied by Huiqing, who stands silently beside him. Huiqing realizes it's late and considers her need to return to the palace, feeling a bit flustered. Huiqing's hand is suddenly grasped by Chu Fengshan, which startles her as she wonders if he intends to get even with her. Chu Fengshan questions why Huiqing rescued him from Fu Kushui, contemplating her motives considering her desire for authority. Chu Fengshan speculates if Huiqing simply doesn't want him to die, both sitting together amidst blooming flowers. Huiqing clarifies that her actions were to prevent Chu Fengshan's death at the hands of hooligans, accusing him of recklessness. Chu Fengshan reflects on his solitary life, acknowledging that he never had much to lose. Huiqing asks what Chu Fengshan fears losing, trying to understand his perspective. Chu Fengshan reveals that he feels very happy on that day, a soft smile on his face. The narration shifts to an exterior scene, suggesting that events are taking an unexpected turn as a carriage proceeds through the landscape. Startled by an unexpected event, Huiqing reacts as Chu Fengshan collapses beside her with a soft thud. Huiqing worries about Chu Fengshan's fall, realizing it happened because of her actions. Huiqing encourages herself to remain calm, reminding herself of her own identity and dismissing the situation as just involving a man. Despite her self-assurance, Huiqing finds it odd that the skilled former general, Chu Fengshan, would now appear so vulnerable. Watching him sleep, Huiqing finds it strange that Chu Fengshan lacks his usual fierce demeanor. Huiqing notices Chu Fengshan's long eyelashes and lightly pokes them, captivated by their length. Admiring Chu Fengshan's beauty, Huiqing quietly acknowledges its dazzling effect, pondering her own reaction. A voice addresses Chu Fengshan, announcing their arrival, which disrupts the serene moment. Chu Fengshan apologizes to Huiqing for falling asleep, who appears startled by his abrupt awakening. As he addresses her formally, Huiqing responds, appearing distracted. Chu Fengshan, reflecting on the removal of a national threat, requests a favor from Huiqing. Chu Fengshan asks Huiqing to assist him in returning to his residence, a hint of vulnerability in his eyes. The scene shifts outside where Chu Fengshan is informed of Lady Huiqing's long wait for him by a retainer. Huiqing tells Chu Fengshan to rest, promising to return shortly, and he agrees. Huiqing, feeling frustrated, complains about having spent 2 hours just observing a cat with no apparent purpose. Determined, Huiqing approaches a grand doorway, suspecting secrets lie within and planning to investigate. Inside, Gu Jing reassures Chu Fengshan that the Imperial doctors have already inspected the premises, urging no concern. Gu Jing, however, stresses the importance of caution, implying an underlying danger if neglected. Huiqing mentions that Fu Kushui is just the nominal master of Lisheng Academy, pointing out it's merely a title, cautioning Chu Fengshan about the real master standing against her. Pei Yu acknowledges her decision to protect the emperor, even knowing the risks, and remarks on her loyalty. Huiqing questions Chu Fengshan's concern about the country's people. Chu Fengshan sits beside Pei Yu, challenging his loyalty and daring him to swear an oath. Chu Fengshan leans into Pei Yu playfully, causing him to react in surprise. Chu Fengshan comments on a mischievous observer outside the door. Jia enters the room, seemingly astonished to find the two together, pointing in disbelief. Jia expresses extreme shock, repeatedly exclaiming while dramatically transforming in the frame. Huiqing remains seated with Pei Yu as Jia accuses them of inappropriate behavior, implying their closeness is scandalous. Jia reacts dramatically, emphasizing the inappropriate timing and openness of the scene, overwhelmed by the situation. Huiqing teases about the cause of Pei Yu's loyalty, while Pei Yu awkwardly asks her to stop looking at Jia. Huiqing dismisses the moment as petty, deciding to leave the two alone as she walks away, indicating her indifference. Jia is captivated by Huiqing's beauty, finding her very pretty. Huiqing affectionately comments on Jia, calling her Little Bunny. Huiqing approaches to kiss Jia, causing Jia to react with confusion. Pei Yu quickly intervenes, warning Huiqing to watch her manners, pulling Jia away. Pei Yu advises Huiqing to mind her behavior in the emperor's presence, maintaining order. The trio continues with Huiqing disregarding the situation and Pei Yu and Jia left contemplating the odd encounter. A sudden push startles Jia as she vocally questions the abrupt action. Jia expresses concern for Pei Yu after he is pushed, observing his reopened wounds as he reassures her. Jia advises Pei-yu to stay still if he's hurt, showing concern for his well-being. Jia warns Pei-yu about the dangers of indulging, while Pei-yu clarifies his misunderstanding of the earlier scene. Jia humorously doubts if Huaking's appearance was just an illusion as Pei-yu wonders about Jia's expression. Pei-yu confesses a long-standing affection, looking earnestly at Jia, causing confusion. Jia reflects on Pei-yu's words, contemplating the connection between soul and appearance. A puzzled Jia questions Pei-yu's cryptic statement, unsure of its meaning. Pei-yu snickers while avoiding Jia's gaze, playfully asking him to stop laughing. Jia confronts Pei-yu, questioning why he didn't warn her earlier about Fu Kushi's true intentions. Pei-yu listens as Jia recounts the events leading to her current predicament with the examinations. Pei-yu expresses concern about Jia's young age, reassuring her that he doesn't want her to worry. Chu Fengshan declares she's grown up and doesn't want to be seen as a mere mascot in the throne room. Pei-yu explains he wants to use his abilities to better the world. Chu Fengshan walks away while Pei-yu remains seated, commenting on her consistent behavior. Chu Fengshan thinks about how Pei-yu never shares anything with her. Pei-yu suggests that they should come to an agreement, promising to guard her empire until she matures. Pei-yu vows to always be available and assures her of control whenever she desires it, pausing for emphasis. Pei-yu proposes they cooperate, asking Chu Fengshan what she thinks about the idea. Chu Fengshan reflects on how Pei-yu's convincing words can make people overlook his powerful status as a prince regent. Chu Fengshan questions Pei-yu's true intentions. Pei-yu returns her question, asking if she really wants to know. Pei-yu promises to reveal his real intentions. In the emperor's resting place, Chu Fengshan is startled by Pei-yu's ominous words and expression. Jia notices Chu Fengshan's attire and questions why she is dressed like a woman. Chu Fengshan says she wanted to try the dress on to see its effect. Jia is confused about what effect Chu Fengshan is seeking and criticizes the outfit for its scanty fabric. Chu Fengshan is lost in thought, considering whether something happened in the Prince Regent's residence. Chu Fengshan revisits Pei-yu's question about her desire to know the truth. Pei-yu reiterates his promise to share his true intentions. Jia casually comments about the natural desire for girls to look pretty. Chu Fengshan firmly advises against it. Chu Fengshan insists she is not a girl. Outside a building, Pei-yu reminds Chu Fengshan of her previous fear. She brushes it off as an accident. A new figure arrives as Pei-yu is in a corridor, with mention of the dungeon. Chu Fengshan confronts Fu Kushi, revealing the punishment for refugees and threatening him with dismemberment. Fu Kushi sits behind bars as Chu Fengshan offers him a final chance. Chu Fengshan demands to know the identity of the true master of Lishang Academy. She questions Fu Kushi's mysterious rise to power considering his background as an orphan. Chu Fengshan offers to spare Fu Kushi's life if he confesses, but he refuses with a sneer. Chu Fengshan questions whether Fu Kushi would rather face death than confess, receiving silence in return. Chu Fengshan assures Fu Kushi she has plenty of time to wait for his confession. He asks her to wait. Heining sits on the floor, lost in thought, while Huaking stands nearby, asking if anyone has checked on the refugees in recent days, hinting at a growing concern. Henning, still seated, wonders aloud if anyone has asked about them, indicating a desire for connection or news. Huaking walks towards the exit, responding that no one has, but hints that if they had known what was done, disappointment would be inevitable. Heining listens as the realization sets in that others would probably be so disappointed. A crack sounds in the silence. Heining internally hopes that Zhou will never know about these events, suggesting a wish to protect her from the truth. The scene shifts to chaotic water imagery, reflecting Henning's inner turmoil, juxtaposed with the text, "I'm just this type of person," as the setting transitions into the interrogation room. Inside the interrogation room, Pei-yu acknowledges that Gu Jing has changed, indicating a shift in his demeanor or actions. Gu Jing recalls 12 years ago, commenting on Pei-yu's past attention to his wine glass, noting the change in habits over time. Pei-yu considers that if there is one person in the court who doesn't want him dead, it must be Gu Jing, showing a glimmer of trust. Gu Jing advises Pei-yu not to pay too much attention to specific people or things, as it poses a risk of creating a weakness. Pei-yu counters by suggesting that having a weakness can be a good thing, adding a humanizing touch to their conversation. Gu Jing, inquisitive, listens as Pei-yu admits he never wanted to win anything, hinting at contentment with his current path. A philosophical text overlay appears, reflecting on the breadth and length of a person's life, setting a contemplative tone. Young Jia is seen, proposing that weaknesses allow movement forward, suggesting growth or progress. Jia continues, expressing that acknowledging weaknesses lets one move forward with a joyful demeanor. The thought of becoming invincible through accepting these vulnerabilities lingers as Gu Jing takes it in. Huaking bursts into the room, addressing Pei Yu and questioning his presence there, adding a sense of urgency. Pei Yu responds that his purpose is to protect, suggesting a deeper motivation behind his actions. The image shows a top-down view of the interrogation room, with Pei Yu, Gu Jing, and Huaking present, setting the scene for the upcoming exchange. Huaking greets Pei Yu with reverence, calling him Your Majesty, indicating recognition of his status. Gu Jing introduces himself formally as part of the Ministry of Justice, establishing his official capacity. Huaking is taken aback upon learning Gu Jing's identity, surprised by an unexpected element. Huaking contemplates the situation, considering it troublesome as a document rests in her hands. A reflective Pei Yu is depicted as being in charge of the government, holding sway over the court and its officials. Gu Jing is shown as the head of the Ministry of Justice, wielding power over legal matters within the realm. Hu Fang stands as the Grand General, responsible for the military and border security, forming a crucial power trio. Huaking reflects on the dire state, feeling cornered as she sits with Pei Yu, assessing the situation. Huaking ponders the state of power, realizing she is merely a figurehead with no true influence, likened to a passive cat. Surprised by Gu Jing's youthfulness and demeanor, Huaking re-evaluates her impression of him as not being the old adversary she imagined. As Huaking contemplates Gu Jing's appearance and nature, she muses that he might be a suitable man, connecting it to thoughts of approval from her father. Chu Fengshan bursts into laughter and comments on someone's admiration for Minister Gu, acknowledging it warmly. Chu Fengshan quickly denies the implication of admiration, feeling defensive yet pondering if there's reason for guilt. Chu Fengshan reads aloud the note and is surprised to learn there's more information beyond Lisheng Academy. Gu Jing explains that interrogations revealed traces not only at Lisheng Academy but in other schools, including influential ones. Gu Jing specifies that the Yan Academy, under the Prince Regent's control, is also implicated in the findings. Chu Fengshan realizes that among the officials admitted to the court over the years, there could be unknown factors. Gu Jing agrees, suggesting that spies might have infiltrated the court already, illustrated by shadowy figures. Despite the revelations, there's concern as Gu Jing mentions that Fu Kushui would rather die than expose the mastermind. Jia points out that death isn't the most terrifying thing. There's a grim understanding expressed by Gu Jing. Heening holds a whip, asserting it's their job to communicate a harsh truth, leaving an ominous air. Shadows of chained figures emphasize the peril, as Henning adds that facing death is considered a naive dream. Jia suggests that their interaction was merely routine office talk and offers games not shared before, attempting to diffuse tension. Gu Jing reports that the assassins, although high-ranking, identified a trusted confidant of Fu Kushui. Chu Fengshan exclaims trust in Deputy Gu, dramatically deciding against personal interrogation. A light-hearted moment as Chu Fengshan exits, declaring the intent to wash away the drama from their mind. Gu Jing reflects on the former emperor's orders, pondering the necessity of intervening although it goes against these directives. Gu Jing confronts Pei Yu, questioning if the emperor has been overly pampered throughout the years. Pei Yu queries Gu Jing's opinion, maintaining a calm and collected demeanor amid the critique. Gu Jing challenges the notion of whether the emperor can take charge of the empire with his gentle nature. Pei Yu insists on focusing on their respective duties without worry, emphasizing mutual respect for boundaries. Gu Jing prepares to leave, acknowledging Pei Yu's continuation of duties as a familiar parting occurs. The mention of the flood and the oracle's message implies that both the emperor and empress must address it together, indicating growing pressures. Pei Yu inquires if there's a choice regarding the selection of an empress, introducing a new dimension of responsibility. Chu Fengshan is alarmed by the sudden requirement to choose an empress without prior preparation. Within a week's time frame, Chu Fengshan is pressured into finding an empress amidst rising frustration. Overnight, the focus abruptly shifts to Chu Fengshan and their potential harem, a source of personal disturbance. An urgency from kneeling advisors compels Chu Fengshan to make a decision regarding the empress quickly for the country's welfare. Chu Fengshan feels disoriented, questioning the reality of the situation, placing it within a study setting. In a study piled with petitions, Chu Fengshan wonders aloud where to find an empress, sharing the burden with Jia. Jia sensibly proposes that choosing an ordinary woman for the ceremonial role could simplify things for Chu Fengshan. Huiqing thinks nothing is as simple as it seems and ponders over complexities unseen by others. She considers how the court is full of cunning officials and how everything hangs in a precarious balance. Huiqing realizes that choosing an empress from one of the influential families would drastically shift this balance. Determined to maintain stability, she decides she must uphold the balance at any cost. While examining a report, she finds out that Gu Jing was able to persuade Fu Kushui, sparking her interest in his methods. Her imagination runs wild, visualizing Gu Jing as a fearsome figure. Despite this, she finds his tactics intriguing yet intimidating. An idea starts to form in her mind, revealing Gu Jing as the ideal candidate for the princess's husband. Huiqing, excited and resolute, calls for the Imperial artist to capture her vision immediately. At the Imperial garden, she meets an artist. Discussing Princess Henning's health, she suggests the artist use her likeness for reference. She advises slight alterations, insisting the image should be more appealing, asking for adjustments in the attire. Confident in her understanding of men's preferences, she chuckles at the artist's efforts and contemplates sending the portrait the next day. News arrives of the Prince Regent's arrival, stirring concern in Huiqing. She scrambles to conceal the portrait, evading questions about its contents from the Prince Regent. Huiqing attempts to downplay the situation, insisting it's unimportant, while hiding the rolled-up portrait. The Prince Regent is skeptical, questioning Huiqing's dismissal of the matter as insignificant. Attempting to defuse the situation, Huiqing claims there's really nothing to note and is promptly interrupted by an urgent message. The message states that Minister Gu has humbly declined the offer, leaving Huiqing momentarily speechless. The rejection, emphasizing his humble status and reluctance to be a suitor, catches her off guard. In her shock, she accidentally lets the portrait slip, a clatter marking her surprise at the turn of events. Unnerved, she recovers the portrait, baffled by Minister Gu's unexpected rejection. The Prince Regent inquires about their previous agreement to cooperate, causing her more distress. Huiqing struggles to explain herself, feeling cornered by the Prince Regent's calm inquiry. The Prince Regent insists on understanding the situation, interrupting her hesitant response. Desperate, Huiqing reveals the temple's requirements for the ceremony and her intent to have Henning accompany Minister Gu. She insists on her sincerity, explaining her rationale for selecting Henning, hoping to convince the Prince Regent. Huiqing draws closer, pleading for belief in her intentions, worried about losing their alliance. The Prince Regent laughs, amused by the unfolding situation, acknowledging the circumstances. Despite her attempts, Huiqing feels a sense of being outmaneuvered, questioning what the Prince Regent means. Shocked by an unforeseen statement, she reacts with a silent astonishment, struggling to process the information. The scene shifts, introducing Chu Fengshan on a bustling street, marking a new development. Chu Fengshan introduces herself as the nominal emperor of the Yanhan Empire. This self-awareness of her status frames the beginning of her quest to uncover deeper truths. Gu Jing's presence prompts Chu Fengshan to investigate further, suspecting hidden intentions beneath his calm demeanor. Chu Fengshan reflects on the recent odd developments, recognizing that things have become stranger than anticipated in her empire. A court official informs Chu Fengshan about Gu Jing's appointments, hinting at rumors regarding his personal life and influence at court. Chu Fengshan contemplates the rumors about Gu Jing's unreserved gatherings, questioning if they are true and what they imply about him. Armed with information, Chu Fengshan heads towards a bookshop in the capital to follow up on Gu Jing's monthly visits and gather more intel. Determined to uncover the truth, Chu Fengshan decides to personally investigate, motivated by her duty to her people and the empire. Entering the bookshop, Chu Fengshan is greeted by a clerk who inquires about her purchase intentions, giving her an opportunity to probe for information. Chu Fengshan asks for random books, cleverly disguising her true motive behind her inquiry about Minister Gu's frequent visits. The clerk teasingly comments on her appearance, mistaking her interest as a personal venture, which Chu Fengshan internally dismisses. Reflecting on the clerk's words, Chu Fengshan wonders if Gu Jing harbors secretive, perhaps dubious, hobbies that could explain his discreet activities. A shout alerts everyone that Minister Gu has arrived, shifting the atmosphere in the bookshop and stirring anticipation. Gu Jing is handed his requested items, thanking the clerk politely, while Chu Fengshan observes unnoticed from afar. Chu Fengshan remains skeptical, suspecting the bookshop as a front for Gu Jing's clandestine dealings, confirming her suspicions. As Gu Jing exits, the clerk encourages his return, giving Chu Fengshen a chance to regroup and plan her next move. Hidden, Chu Fengshen considers her unnoticed presence fortunate, allowing her to secretly track Gu Jing without blowing her cover. Observing Gu Jing heading into an alley, Chu Fengshen decides to follow him quietly, determined to uncover his secrets. Chu Fengshen hides behind a corner, puzzled by Gu Jing's sudden disappearance as she looks for him among the passersby. Noticing a bag left behind, she recognizes it as Gu Jing's, raising her curiosity about its contents. Confronted by Gu Jing, Chu Fengshen is startled, realizing her cover may be blown as her intentions come under scrutiny. Chu Fengshen nervously identifies herself, questioned by Gu Jing about her unexpected presence outside the palace. With a spirited resolve, Chu Fengshen explains her investigation as a way to stay informed about her empire's affairs. Gu Jing cautions her about the dangers in the capital, offering his assistance to safely escort her back to the palace. Chu Fengshen hesitates, insisting on her capability to protect herself, though Gu Jing remains adamant about her safety. Gu Jing firmly insists on accompanying her, leaving Chu Fengshen flustered by his unwavering dedication to her safety. As they reach the palace, Chu Fengshen assures Gu Jing of her ability to continue alone, appreciating his concern. Discussing the Ministry of Justice's long-standing impartiality, Chu Fengshen listens as Gu Jing critiques the perceived laxity in Pei Yu's mentorship. Gu Jing emphasizes the need for a stronger, more resolute ruler, clearly suggesting that Pei Yu has fallen short in his responsibilities. Critiquing Pei Yu's oversight, Gu Jing expresses shock at Chu Fengshen's unsupervised expedition, considering it unacceptable. Observing Gu Jing's growing wealth, Chu Fengshen contemplates the implications of his financial gains, hinting at possible motives for his actions. Fu Kushui expresses his disdain, preferring a peacock over another by simply saying he would rather raise the bird than him. Huiqing wonders if Pei Yu intended to make her a good emperor, contemplating as she stands outside holding a bag. Upon inspecting the bag, Huiqing discovers a note labeled Gu Jing inside, indicating a different purpose than she anticipated. Embracing the situation, she sees it as a blessing and looks forward to getting to know Gu Jing better. Huiqing examines a book in the Imperial study, pondering Gu Jing's unique taste and questioning the validity of the content. Pei Yu appears unexpectedly, startling Huiqing, who questions his sudden presence. Pei Yu addresses the negligence in teaching Huiqing due to her interests, suggesting improvements are necessary. Huiqing attempts to clarify her actions but feels overwhelmed by the situation. Reflecting on her past, Huiqing recalls the chance she once had to become an emperor remembered by history. Acknowledging that opportunity has passed, Pei Yu receives an admission of regret as Huiqing steps aside. Huiqing insists Pei Yu misunderstand her intentions, while he responds with a question about her thoughts. Unable to know Huiqing's thoughts, Pei Yu implies that perhaps her mind is more peculiar than the books she reads. Privately, Huiqing calms herself, reminding her of her need to maintain her posture as the emperor. Asserting her authority, Huiqing exclaims her right to read anything she desires, making a bold exit from the room. Huiqing warns Pei Yu that he has overstepped his boundaries, a moment of tension rising between them. Pei Yu questions Huiqing's belief in his having crossed the line, his hand resting on a book as he ponders. With quiet intensity, Pei Yu admits to perhaps overstepping, yet leaves the room with an air of confidence. Huiqing recognizes Pei Yu's anger, an unusual sight that stirs her mind. Memories flood back as Huiqing remembers how long it's been since Pei Yu looked this way, hinting at her past emotional tie. Huiqing asserts her right to read anything as the emperor, while Pei Yu reminds her of the clarity needed between emperors and ministers, emphasizing the rule. Huiqing resolves not to betray Gu Jing while sharing a readiness to face the consequences if things escalate. Pei Yu suggests Huiqing has forgotten the rules that govern the Imperial study. Huiqing confesses her remembrance of these regulations in a moment full of introspection. Pei Yu explains that a ruler should lead with power, wealth, virtue, or punishment, reinforcing the importance of balanced governance. Grasping the concept of rule, Pei Yu highlights its origins, ensuring Huiqing understands the broader implications. With a questioning gaze, Huiqing seeks clarity, wanting assurance of her comprehension of the situation. Bowing with respect, Huiqing promises to keep Pei Yu's teachings in mind and show adherence. In a gesture of apology, Huiqing expresses her regret to Pei Yu, her sincerity evident. Jia supports Huiqing, lamenting how her father's appointment of Pei Yu impacted her current trials. Jia reflects on the relationship between emperor and minister, recalling the inherent equality in their study sessions. Jia sits with Huaking, expressing frustration about feeling like a slave in the imperial study. Huaking dismisses the idea. Chu Fengshan looks determined, vowing not to let the situation worsen, while Jia is confused in the background. Chu Fengshan dramatically exclaims for an empress, feeling overwhelmed, under the bright sky. An exterior view of the Prince Regent's mansion, indicating a change of location. Gu Jing stands inside, giving instructions to send the books to the Ministry of Justice, concerned about youth being led astray. Gu Jing warns not to blame him if a house is burned down, receiving a hasty agreement from his kneeling companion. Gu Jing reviews a scroll, sipping tea as an attendant quietly offers refreshments. Gu Jing reacts to a depiction of a beautiful woman on the scroll, finding her attractive. The attendant encourages Gu Jing to hurry up, humorously noting the growing competition. A lively illustration shows the attendant energetically urging the Prince Regent to act quickly. Gu Jing muses about hurrying up but doubts it, feeling he might scare someone with a cat beside him. Gu Jing playfully asks the cat if it also thinks he should stop waiting, pondering his next move. Henning comments on the delayed blooming of flowers, feeling disinterested in poetry and wine while anticipating the east wind. A serene view of the emperor's resting place, with Henning looking contemplative as she opens her eyes. Another woman lounges beside Henning, noting her wakefulness with a gentle demeanor. The woman offers to assist Henning in getting dressed, creating a comical scene. Startled, Henning shouts at the woman to leave, questioning her presence. Jia consoles Huaking, noting the audacity of sending women to her bed and the growing power of the imperial household. Chu Fengshan questions if Pei Yu has trouble with her, while Jia nervously denies it but hints otherwise. Chu Fengshan seems lost in thought, questioning Jia's claim about Pei Yu's affection. Inquiring further, Chu Fengshan asks if Jia truly believes Pei Yu has always been affectionate toward her. Jia hesitates, comparing it to a fox with grapes. Confused by the metaphor, Chu Fengshan asks about the fox and grapes. The illustration explains the story of a fox waiting patiently for grapes, even before they bore fruit. Continuing, the narrative describes how the fox found the grapes too precious to eat, scaring off other animals as well. Chu Fengshan visualizes Pei Yu as the patron saint of grapes, reflecting the metaphor given by Jia. An excited Jia giggles, agreeing that Chu Fengshan is the grapes in this scenario. Chu Fengshan feels bewildered. Chu Fengshan reflects on not hearing from Pei Yu after an incident, suspecting it is intentional silence. Frustrated, Chu Fengshan grumbles about Pei Yu's disappearance, deciding not to wait idly for his return. Considering the chaos at court and potential harem schemes, Chu Fengshan grows wary of Pei Yu's intentions. Determined to act, Chu Fengshan demands a set of casual clothes, ready to confront the issue at Heian House. Gu Jing is invited inside, and Huaking agrees to follow, noting the ease of finding the location. As they walk through the hallway, Gu Jing observes that the place is not as well guarded as expected. Huaking speculates about Gu Jing, wondering if he is the rumored toy boy, while noticing his delicate appearance. Gu Jing looks around, and Huaking questions his gaze. He nervously excuses himself. Huaking recalls the sacrifice requirements and apologizes to Gu Jing for the inconvenience of borrowing his loved one. There is a sudden clashing of swords, startling both Huaking and Gu Jing. Huaking comments on the scene, confused. They notice a group of toy boys practicing. Huaking is surprised by their numbers. Huaking wonders if Gu Jing could handle the situation alone. A servant guides them to the minister, where Huaking meekly follows. Fu Kushi appears, prompting Huaking's shock and inquiry of his presence. Gu Jing offers Huaking tea, who hesitantly declines, feeling uneasy with the politeness. Gu Jing accuses Huaking of being a spy pretending to be a palace messenger. Huaking denies the accusation but becomes entangled in Gu Jing's grip, leading to a struggle. Fu Kushi intervenes, declaring Huaking is not a spy. Huaking is confused by Fu Kushi's sudden involvement, questioning his intentions. Two men, Pei Yu and Chu Fengshan, overhear the commotion and question its cause. The group addresses Fu Kushi as Your Majesty, with shock written across their faces. Pei Yu's silent gaze brings Huaking's attention back, leaving her puzzled. Huaking confronts Pei Yu about his absence, accusing him of secretly working with the minister. The group stands silently as tension hangs in the air, awaiting clarification. Pei Yu's demand for Huaking to approach brings her closer to the unfolding dilemma. As Huaking hesitates, she decides to relent and moves toward Pei Yu. Pei-yu mentions sending messages that Huiking ignored, prompting her angry explanation. Pei-yu sighs, indicating a forthcoming explanation as the scene shifts outside. Pei-yu advises Huiking to face the Emperor boldly, instigating a moment of mentorship. Huiking is surprised by Pei-yu's calm demeanor, questioning his lack of anger. Huiking confesses to her infiltration and the discovery of her secret with Gu Jing. Pei-yu dismisses the matter, finding no harm in her early discovery. Pei-yu reveals that the Heian house was specially prepared by the former emperor. Huiking is shocked, realizing the place's association with Gu Jing's toy boys. The group exchanges humorous remarks about Gu Jing's supposed orientation, lighting up the atmosphere. Pei-yu accuses someone of informing His Majesty that he is gay, addressing them as Royal Highness. As the day progresses, Pei-yu offers to escort His Majesty back to the palace, leaving Henning looking at him. Gu Jing questions Pei-yu's actions, demanding to know where he is taking His Majesty without permission. Pei-yu dismisses the question, challenging whether he must report his movements to a traitor like Gu Jing. Jia reassures Gu Jing not to worry, affirming that Pei-yu would not harm His Majesty. Gu Jing expresses his distrust of Pei-yu, not worrying about the emperor himself but skeptical of Pei-yu's intentions. As evening falls, Fu Kushi speaks to Gu Jing of the beauty of fireflies at night. Fu Kushi reflects on how those who have seen such light become trapped by it, gaining an affection that influences them greatly. The reflection continues, noting how the light causes one to forget their fierce and merciless nature. Pei-yu explains that Heian House is not a brothel, although its owners are sworn to celibacy. They spend their lives selecting talents for the house. Gu Jing remarks that the owners may eventually turn gay, with Pei-yu agreeing that it is a wise thought. Chu Fengshan wonders why the day is so special, with Pei-yu explaining it's the day sacrifices are offered to the river god. A story is shared about the river god and his mortal wife, who lived happily in this area year after year. The narrative unfolds, revealing that despite their happiness, the natural law was merciless and the wife perished. The river god mourned the loss of his wife, overwhelmed by his tears. His sadness was so profound that even heaven and earth mourned, causing the rivers to overflow. In an attempt to calm the floods, people would dress girls as brides to soothe the river god. Chu Fengshan is taken aback by the idea of being the river god's bride, but their attention is drawn to an approaching figure. A person remarks on Chu Fengshan's appearance, deeming them a perfect choice for the bride, and praises their handsomeness. Confused and startled, Chu Fengshan stammers at the suggestion of being the bride. Chu Fengshan is worried about being discovered by Pei-yu, who is considered cunning and suspicious. A friend reassures them, suggesting that it's just a ritual and unlikely to be noticed by the river god. Chu Fengshan questions the safety of lying to the river god, fearing potential punishment. Chu Fengshan, reluctant, is encouraged to proceed, telling themselves not to be shy. In desperation, Chu Fengshan calls out for help, urging the companion to act instead of just standing there. Pei-yu, with a measured smile, suggests that Chu Fengshan take this as an opportunity to connect with the people and share their burdens. The scene shifts to a cruise boat, where the tension continues to rise inside the cabin. Chu Fengshan asserts their independence, insisting they can handle things on their own without assistance. Others remark on Chu Fengshan's shy demeanor, finding it charming, while Chu Fengshan demands they leave. Chu Fengshan realizes their coat has been taken, noting the cleverness of the act. Huiking is carefully stepping through a window, worried that Pei-yu might find her and become suspicious of her intentions. Huiking contemplates her situation, thinking that another bride could easily be found to replace her. Pei-yu appears, questioning Huiking's intentions of running away, addressing her as Your Majesty. Huiking laughs off Pei-yu's suspicion, explaining she stepped out merely for air due to the heat inside. Pei-yu reassures Huiking, promising he won't allow anyone to force her into anything unwillingly, reflecting on the world's nature. Pei-yu suggests to Huiking that they should head back, as the surroundings are lit with glowing lanterns. The ceremony celebrates finding a bride for the river god, with attendees hoping for blessings and relief from disaster. Huiking stands surprised, questioning the mention of the propitious time, hinting at her contemplation. Under the night sky filled with lanterns, Pei-yu stands alone, announcing a change of mind without further details. A man remarks on the beauty of the bride to Pei-yu, noticing worry in his demeanor. Pei-yu admits his nervousness about the situation, trying to mask his uncertainty. As the bride arrives, the sound of the creaking door captures Pei-yu's attention, making him alert. Pei-yu reacts, seemingly surprised as something unexpected unfolds before him. On a boat, Huaking is told to accept the people's well wishes confidently during the occasion. Peiyu, feeling awkward in his attire, hears Huaking teasing him about the girlishness of his clothes, finding it humorous. Peiyu responds by complimenting Huaking, acknowledging her appearance positively despite his own unease. Fireworks illuminate the night, captivating Huaking's attention as she describes the scene as beautiful. Alongside Huaking, Peiyu admires the display of fireworks, agreeing with her view on its beauty. Suddenly, Huaking is pushed forward, caught off guard by the unexpected movement. Peiyu's protective instincts kick in as he alerts Huaking to an impending danger, gripping her away from harm. Huaking demands answers from the intruder, questioning his actions with a mixture of anger and surprise. The intruder accuses Huaking of being a fraud, referencing past misfortunes tied to her perceived role. Spectators whisper about the man's gambling reputation, casting doubt on Huaking's authenticity amid the rumors. Huaking challenges the accusations, rejecting the blame placed on her and reflecting on societal treatment of women. Her defiance continues, asserting that such a person wouldn't earn the river god's favor, confronting her accuser directly. The man is deemed unworthy to remain, with his actions openly dismissed by Huaking. Peiyu commands the removal of the disruptive individual, ensuring order during the heightened moment. Along with Peiyu, Huaking confesses her fury over the situation, seeking refuge and understanding. Huaking reflects on her life's lack of choices, expressing disdain towards the recurring theme of being unqualified. Huaking concedes her vulnerability and self-doubt, internalizing her perceived weaknesses. Peiyu stands beside Huaking, comforting her with a gentle reminder not to cry. He places a reassuring hand on her shoulder while they stand outside under a bright sky. Huaking reflects on Peiyu's words, realizing that it's okay to show some weakness. Her eyes convey her inner contemplation as she processes his message. Denying her tears, Huaking insists she isn't crying. A scenic view of a palace rooftop appears before a playful interaction occurs between two chibi versions of the characters, confirming acceptance of the truth with laughter. Huaking touches her face, pondering how her eyes deceived her. The scene shifts to show someone reaching towards her as her thoughts unfold. Images of the palace appear as Huaking accuses Peiyu of easily telling lies with a straight face, reflecting her skepticism and awareness. Peiyu admits to always being a villain, seemingly resigned to this identity as he stands beside Huaking, who listens quietly under a starry sky. A moment of realization occurs as Peiyu asks if Huaking hears something, prompting her to respond with curiosity while holding hands. Peiyu softly voices his awareness of his greedy ambition. Huaking meets his gaze directly, surrounded by the gentle beauty of blooming flowers. Huaking and Peiyu share a tender moment before she decides it's time to move on, telling Peiyu it's enough and shifting the focus back to business. The two characters walk together along a serene path, asking the honorific goddess for blessings as a boat glides peacefully on the water. A prayer for good weather and harvest is offered by a woman among the congregation of worshippers, seeking divine assurance for the future. With fireworks lighting up the night, Huaking declares her commitment to protecting Peiyu, raising her arm confidently against the vibrant sky. In a conversation about living better lives, Peiyu reassures Huaking that she's no longer angry. They sit together, watching the boat sail away. Huaking resolves to protect everyone from harm, ensuring they won't rely solely on divine intervention for safety, regardless of disasters, promising safety to all. Peiyu, concerned, asks Huaking if something is wrong, noting her thoughtful demeanor. She inquires back, expressing her openness to clarity. Recognizing Huaking's growth, Peiyu acknowledges the positive change. Huaking wonders whether this growth is beneficial, engaging in reflective dialogue. Together, they consider the nature of growing up, accepting that there isn't a definitive positive or negative aspect as they face the palace in thought. Huaking acknowledges Peiyu's constant presence in her heart, valuing his unwavering support regardless of her state, self-assured in their connection. Huaking challenges Peiyu's position, questioning his tendency to nag, which she finds annoying. She points out his role as a Prince Regent. Huaking struggles to pinpoint how things ended up this way, expressing bewilderment as she reflects on her situation amid a scenic backdrop. Peiyu is surrounded by admirers who question him about his age, relationship status, and gentle demeanor. He stands composed among the curious crowd. Frustrated, Huaking wonders what the appeal in Peiyu is, as people surround him, inquiring about his poetic talents. She regards the scene with annoyance. After taking a sip of wine, Huaking realizes its strength. She recalls Gu Jing's warning about Pei Yu and remarks on the taste, feeling its surprising potency. Pei Yu receives compliments from a lady appreciative of his presence at the gathering. She queries if he has a particular favorite among the beauties present. A lady gives Pei Yu a kiss on the cheek as a token, treating it as a souvenir. Pei Yu remains still, receiving this unexpected gesture with little reaction. Huiqing intervenes, grabbing the woman by her clothes to halt her advances towards Pei Yu. Caught off guard, the woman turns to face Huiqing. Huiqing sternly tells the woman to leave, her presence daunting enough to elicit a hiccup, prompting a retreat as Pei Yu observes the interaction. Huiqing questions Pei Yu's inebriated state, expressing concern. She approaches with interest, noting his unexpected behavior. Pei Yu acknowledges Huiqing's proximity, addressing her as Your Majesty. He maintains his composure while engaging with her, supporting the conversation. Huiqing advises Pei Yu to learn self-defense as a peacock, insinuating that he can be overly trusting or naive in such situations, underscoring her protectiveness. Chu Fengshen and Pei Yu walk together in a vibrant street with lanterns. Pei Yu mentions that Chu Fengshen seems drunk. Pei Yu reflects on how he has been bullied from the start and accuses Chu Fengshen of being the one responsible. Chu Fengshen appears taken aback and denies ever having bullied Pei Yu. Pei Yu recalls how in court, Chu Fengshen used him against enemies and never trusted him. Pei Yu feels neglected outside of court, noting that Chu Fengshen avoided him and never gave him a second look over the years. Pei Yu asks Chu Fengshen if this treatment isn't a form of bullying. Pei Yu admits he can't push Chu Fengshen away and accuses the latter of approaching him wantonly. Pei Yu tells Chu Fengshen he can't continue treating him this way for his own amusement. Chu Fengshen, referred to by Pei Yu, asserts his authority as the emperor. Chu Fengshen states he can do whatever he wants as he reaches for Pei Yu. Chu Fengshen repeats his claim about his power and reaffirms his capabilities. Pei Yu questions Chu Fengshen's awareness of his actions while lying side by side. Chu Fengshen complains about a headache, leaning on Pei Yu's shoulder, seemingly in discomfort. Hu Jing appears, asking Jia to help get Pei Yu changed, noting that she should handle it. Pei Yu insists, and Gu Jing obliges by saying it's all done while standing outside. Hu Jing humorously remarks on realizing Pei Yu is a girl, teasing about the youthful antics. Jia questions how Pei Yu ended up so drunk as Pei Yu rests in a room called Peacock by Gu Jing. While Pei Yu lies on the floor, Chu Fengshen tells him not to let himself be bullied again. Pei Yu reassures that most who can bully him are no longer present in his life. Jia updates Gu Jing on the day's events, including a banquet where the military commander might urge Chu Fengshen to choose an empress. Gu Jing responds to Jia, instructing she ensures Chu Fengshen isn't disturbed until noon due to his drunken state. Chu Fengshen wakes in the palace, wondering how he got back there from the previous night. Jia, in Chu Fengshen's room, offers a prepared tonic to help him sober up, noting he's finally awake. Jia reminds Chu Fengshen that it was Pei Yu who brought him back the night before. Chu Fengshen thinks of Pei Yu's warning as a peacock about protecting himself more. Thoughts of Pei Yu continue, with a focus on not being bullied by others. Chu Fengshen reacts intensely, unsure if his experiences were part of a dream or reality. Chu Fengshen asks Jia if anything odd happened between him and Pei Yu the previous night. Jia reassures Chu Fengshen that nothing strange occurred and informs him about the upcoming banquet. Chu Fengshen questions Jia about his attire from the previous night, seemingly confused. Huiqing realizes with concern that her corset is missing. Huiqing panics over her missing corset and wonders who could have changed her clothes into boy's attire overnight. Jia mentions the upcoming spring banquet and suggests Huiqing might inquire there. Despite her anxiety, Huiqing humorously imagines asking Pei Yu about her missing corset. Huiqing feels a sense of impending doom as she contemplates explaining the situation to her father. The spring banquet scene shows Huiqing pondering if someone will use this incident against her. Pei Yu is seen as Huiqing fears consequences, contemplating the seriousness of her situation. Pei Yu notes Huiqing's gaze and subtly inquires if she has something to ask. Huiqing wonders if she's compromising her own position and digging a grave for herself. Pei Yu points out that Huiqing was drunk the previous night. Huiqing questions the fate of her clothes, and Pei Yu explains the girls on the boat assisted her change. Huiqing nervously asks if anything is wrong, concerned about a potential crisis. Feeling overwhelmed, Huiqing admits to herself how frightened she was by the situation. The Imperial garden is described with details of the spring banquet's two-part division. Huaging assumes the many women in attendance are there with the aim to win her over. She reflects that one might become Empress if they impress her enough, finding the potential drama amusing. A woman nervously apologizes to Huaging for an innocent misstep. Huaging reassures the lady, urging her to remain calm as she thinks about the woman's impatience. A cup is seen tipping as someone offers a toast to Huaging, creating a small splash. The woman offers her sincere apologies to Huaging via toast. Peiyu intervenes, suggesting Huaging can skip the toast, and he accepts the apology. Peiyu addresses the Royal Highness with a serious air. Peiyu requests privacy with Huaging, expressing the need to discuss important matters. Huaging is puzzled by Peiyu's urgent need for a private conversation, wondering about the context. Peiyu firmly tells Huaging not to drink, emphasizing a restriction. Huaging asserts her autonomy by declaring her imperial status and her ability to do as she pleases. Huaging silently reflects on the strange familiarity of the situation and what her priorities should be. Huaging jokingly questions Peiyu about why he's nervous, hinting at previous night's events. Both Huaging and Peiyu share a laugh, lightening the mood after the tense conversation. Peiyu again insists Huaging not drink anymore, maintaining a protective demeanor. Huaging questions why Peiyu didn't fight back, noting his unusual behavior that day. Huaging acknowledges to herself that the real show is starting, as expected. Fu Kushi talks about the presence of all the officials' daughters at the ceremony. Gu Jing suggests choosing an empress since the ceremony for the heavens is near. Huaging realizes the complexity of the spring banquet and promises a surprise. Huaging stands up, addressing the deputies about forgetting something important. Huaging asserts that she isn't the only imperial member of the Yanhan Empire. The arrival of Princess Henning is announced, shocking those present. The attendants are confused as they were under the impression that Princess Henning was seriously ill. Huaging asks if Gu Jing likes the surprise she prepared. She questions the attendants' lack of respect for the princess. Huaging repeats her demand for the attendants to kneel when seeing the princess. The people greet their highness with formal respect. Huaging questions if the Prince Regent has doubts about the situation. Peiyu apologizes, explaining he hasn't seen her highness in many years. Peiyu expresses his excitement over the current events. Henning asks for a moment with her sister, dismissing Peiyu, who agrees to leave. Peiyu complies with Henning's request, stating he will obey her orders. Huaging reflects on her suspicion during that moment. Huaging wonders whom Peiyu is truly bowing to, hinting at deeper mysteries. Henning expresses relief that their deception was not uncovered. Huaging expresses her gratitude towards Baixin for being there. Baixin recalls the past event of the Crown Prince's death from illness 10 years ago. A flashback shows the general explaining the princess's departure for recovery. A young Baixin is seen leaving the palace with the Crown Prince. For 10 years, Baixin's face remained unseen, maintaining her hidden identity. A guard informs another that Princess Henning has suddenly returned, causing alarm. Huaging apologizes to Baixin, acknowledging her role in Baixin's hidden existence. Baixin reassures Huaging, expressing her willingness to be her shadow. Huaging reminds herself to stay wary of a manipulative figure who seeks power. Baixin advises Huaging to be cautious of the scheming fox, suggesting restraint if he acts strangely. Gu Jing approaches, questioning Huaging and Baixin's actions. Peiyu requests a private conversation with her highness outside, his long silver hair flowing as he stands at attention. As Peiyu walks away, Huaging observes him. It's the first time he has shown interest in anyone else in her presence. Huaging reflects on her feelings, realizing her unexpected discontent about Peiyu's focus shifting away from her. In a chibi-style illustration, Huaging mentally scolds herself, questioning if she enjoys the challenges he presents. Huaging contemplates Peiyu's high-ranking status, considering his power and contrasting it with his composed demeanor. Peiyu appears distant and enigmatic, a stark contrast to his earlier demeanor. Huaging finds him unapproachable now. Huaging inquires about Peiyu's intentions, wondering about the purpose of their conversation. Peiyu, with his back turned, advises against using someone else's name to avoid causing trouble. Turning slightly, Peiyu questions Huaging's feelings, calling her Miss Baixin. The dialogue repeats Peiyu's warning about name usage, emphasizing the potential trouble it could bring. Peiyu directly asks Huaging if she shares the sentiment, addressing her as Miss Baixin again. Huaking, puzzled, responds that she doesn't understand Peiyu's implications, apologizing. Peiyu suggests Huaking might have been warned about his ruthless reputation by someone else. Huaking becomes wary, speculating about Peiyu's intentions and his possible scheming. Huaking questions the nature of the relationship between Peiyu and the Emperor, sensing an unusual atmosphere. Peiyu suddenly shouts a warning to Huaking as tension escalates. Huaking urgently calls out to Henning and commands the guards to capture the assailant. Chu Fengshan checks on Henning, who has fallen, as Peiyu observes the situation. Henning assures Chu Fengshan of her well-being and expresses gratitude towards His Majesty. Onlookers question the physical similarities between Princess Henning and His Majesty, expressing doubt. Henning is approached by a stunned Huaking, as whispers among the spectators ensue. Huaking resolves to maintain her composure, recalling Peiyu's advice to face difficult situations steadfastly. A courtier questions the apparent lack of resemblance between the royal siblings despite their shared parentage. Huaking confidently asserts control, suggesting the concerns about her sister's appearance are unfounded. Huaking acknowledges the suspicion regarding Henning among the assembly, pondering the source. Peiyu stands amidst the council, silently scrutinizing the gathered officials. Peiyu announces that the person before them isn't the true Princess Henning, creating a stir. Huaking is caught off guard by Peiyu's revelation, her confusion palpable. Peiyu further explains his strategy, revealing the presence of an impostor due to assassin threats. Rumors about Henning's supposed death arise, eliciting questions about Peiyu's motives and the truth about her status. Peiyu, adorned in layers of traditional clothing, reflects on a recent sacrificial ritual where he and Her Highness were on the same boat. He mentions that nearly half of the city's citizens witnessed Her Highness during the event. Huaking looks thoughtful, questioning if Peiyu is trying to help her or if he has discovered something important. Peiyu criticizes the ministers for not investigating the assassination of Princess Henning. Instead, they are preoccupied with questioning Huaking's identity. Peiyu suggests the ministers might be contemplating rebellion, adding tension to the situation. A group of ministers, shown in identical robes, plead for forgiveness from both His Majesty and Her Royal Highness, indicating a fear of the consequences. Huaking recognizes that this isn't the first time Peiyu has assisted her, deepening her curiosity about his motives. She wonders if Peiyu is protecting her and questions whether he desires something beyond power and control over the empire. The thought crosses her mind. Perhaps Peiyu's true interest lies in her personally, not political power. The background shows the palace, and the text explains that since the day in question, Princess Henning isn't mentioned again, signifying a suppression of past events. Huaking acknowledges the suspicion surrounding her identity. She cannot let Baixin appear at the ceremony for the heavens, as the current situation is chaotic. An exaggerated comedic moment shows Huaking wishing she could split herself in half to handle the overwhelming stress. A servant presents Huaking with the phoenix coronet, noting its arrival with respect. Jia expresses concern that if the coronet doesn't impress, the officials will find reasons to criticize Huaking, prompting her to consider their next actions. Huaking questions the assumption that she can be pressured into abdicating during the ceremony, hinting at underlying power struggles. Confidently holding the coronet, Huaking asserts that her Prince Regent holds only symbolic power compared to her own authority. The majestic Temple of Heaven is displayed, indicating the location's significance for the upcoming events. Seated regally, Huaking reflects on the rare occurrence of the heavenly ceremony. Her thoughts shift to how Peiyu's governance is revealed to be less chaotic than assumed. As Huaking approaches adulthood, she notices a competitor to Peiyu making moves, giving rise to her strategic musings. A royal entourage announces the arrival of His Majesty, signifying the importance of the event. Dressed in ceremonial robes, Huaking resolves to view these challenges as tests in her journey toward the throne. Huaking addresses a group on her path, puzzled by their actions and seeking clarification on their intentions. An official presents a ceremonial item, reminding Huaking of the day's religious significance and urging her to select an empress from the approved list. Infuriated, Huaking accuses the official of overstepping authority and disregarding the structured hierarchy. The official insists on adhering to ancestral traditions, challenging Huaking's leadership perspective. Huaking discerns the unusual nature of the conflict and realizes that the official is not part of the regular assembly, implying an external influence. The guards surrounding Huaking appear distinct and battle-ready, suggesting a threat beyond the usual palace security measures. Concerned about Peiyu's absence, Waking worries something may have happened to him during these tumultuous events. Fu Kushui, mounted on a horse, demands passage from the guards, challenging their authority with determination. The guard explains they have strict instructions preventing anyone from entering during the ceremony, maintaining their defensive stance. Fu Kushui questions the true purpose of the ceremony, warning of dire consequences and potential familial detestation if it is a pretense for forcing abdication. Gu Jing observes the surroundings, acknowledging someone's skilled actions with a comment, "Nice shot." Pei Yu expresses that no gratitude should be expected from them regarding the situation. Chu Fengshen dismisses the need for an empress and questions the pleas of those before him, asking them to consider the people's needs. Chu Fengshen challenges anyone who wants to force her to step down, ready to confront any opposition. A servant asserts that they are not pressuring Chu Fengshen but encourages her to follow their ancestors' rules for the kingdom. Chu Fengshen internally addresses the lack of respect shown by the officials, questioning how her people would react to potential conflict. Conflicted and seeking guidance, Chu Fengshen contemplates her next move and recalls the importance of ancestral rules, invoking Pei Yu. Pei Yu arrives and acknowledges the officials' loyalty to the county and its people, suggesting they should feel honored. Pei Yu reaches for something, stating it would be a failure to meet expectations if they don't adhere to the officials' requirements. Pei Yu questions the loyal general's feelings about the duty at hand, seeking their agreement. The general, determined, implies that others will follow in his stead, showing resilience even in the face of death. Pei Yu questions if the desire for an empress persists despite the unfolding events. Pei Yu, standing with regal poise, reiterates the question of whether the demand for an empress remains. Chu Fengshen wonders if Pei Yu got hurt or if something unimaginable transpired, displaying concern. A servant expresses utmost respect for Pei Yu and insists on the importance of the heavenly ritual, preferring death over compromise. Pei Yu affirms the mandate for the Majesty to ascend under divine orders, highlighting his elevated status. Chu Fengshen, taking hold of her robe, reflects on a promise made years ago to care for the Majesty, noting it's been 10 years. Confusion arises in Fengshen as she questions Pei Yu's true intentions. Pei Yu, wearing ornate robes, humbly declares their unworthiness to stand in the temple of heaven with the Majesty. The gathered officials, seated and submissive, affirm they will not defy the orders given to them. Intensity grows as a message is quietly relayed between servants about the Prince Regent's safe arrival and the altering situation. Pei Yu kneels before Chu Fengshen, indicating it's an opportune moment to begin the ceremony together. Chu Fengshen considers Pei Yu's trials and acknowledges his efforts to help them arrive at this point. A gentle touch on the arm reflects Chu Fengshen's gratitude for Pei Yu's presence. Pei Yu and Chu Fengshen stand closely, Pei Yu preparing to guide her through the ceremony as she agrees to proceed. Doubt lingers in Pei Yu's mind about the appropriateness of their actions. Chu Fengshen holds the ceremonial items, slightly worried about the proceedings, yet committed. Concern emerges among the servants when a note is handed over, containing unexpected information. The officials announce the procession of the Emperor and Prince Regent to the altar, setting the ceremonial stage. As they approach the altar, Pei Yu reflects on the hopes for the Empire's continuity and protection from the ancestors, contemplating her identity. Pei Yu contemplates his predicament, wishing for simplicity if his situation allowed him to marry freely. Pei Yu and Henning stand together, both considering the future without worries of empire and its burdens. An official conducts a formal ceremony, instructing Pei Yu and Henning to kneel in honor of ancestors and the emperor. Henning feels an inexplicable quickening in her heart amidst the solemn atmosphere and unfamiliar ritual. Conflicted thoughts surface in Henning's mind as she questions if her rapid heartbeat is due to nervousness or something else. The official announces the conclusion of the ceremony with finality, marking a significant turning point. Pei Yu turns to address Henning, seeking a moment of personal exchange after the public formality. Henning reflects on the gravity of Pei Yu's actions, considering how they share the risk of infamy regardless of future success. Pei Yu asserts his indifference to notoriety, confident and unwavering in his stance. Henning remarks on Pei Yu's fearless nature, acknowledging an aspect of his character she admires. Suddenly, an assailant appears, forcing Pei Yu to alert others to the danger present. Chaos ensues as Pei Yu orders others to apprehend the would-be assassin without delay. Henning, caught off guard, processes the potential identity of the attacker in a moment of realization. As Henning identifies Qiu Fang, the scene shifts, hinting at a deeper connection and history. Henning moves confidently to confront the fleeing figure, signaling her determination to handle the situation. Pei Yu underestimates Henning, attributing her insight and actions to an overestimation of him. Pei Yu reflects on his vulnerabilities, privately questioning his own lack of fear. Henning calls out for Qiu Fang in the serene landscape, the scene tied to memories and past events. Henning is beset by doubt about her decisions, recalling how long it's been since she last saw Qiu Fang. In a flashback to 10 years earlier, young Henning leads Qiu Fang by the hand into a verdant clearing. Henning whispers a secret to Qiu Fang, promising to reveal something of significance. She discloses her true identity to Qiu Fang, confessing that she is indeed Henning, not the prince. Qiu Fang already knows Henning's true identity, acknowledging it with a smile. Qiu Fang expresses that Henning's presence is unmistakable to him, signifying their close bond. In the present, Jia urgently informs Henning of an emerging crisis involving the Prince Regent. Henning rushes to a scene marked by urgency, where Pei Yu lies wounded and attendants scramble to administer aid. Is Pei Yu's life truly in danger? Henning wonders as she reflects on childhood dreams of being free from burden. Overwhelmed by an unknown panic, Henning faces new emotions that unfamiliar circumstances bring forth. The physician reports Pei Yu's condition, urging rest and recovery over the coming months, as Henning learns the gravity of the situation. Alone with the resting Pei Yu, Henning contemplates the unexpected change in her life, once unimaginable. Gu Jing acknowledges the presence of the Majesty, signaling a moment of realization and tension in the air. Henning reflects on abandonment, comparing her situation to the sudden departure of her father and brother, and feeling isolated in the world. Henning confronts Gu Jing, addressing their foresight about the ceremony and questioning the lack of communication about the danger. Gu Jing admits to the accusations, mentioning the general's actions at the border and questioning Henning's awareness of an abdication plan. Henning stands her ground, questioning if Gu Jing believes she is still a child. She highlights her bravery and decisiveness as the Prince Regent. Henning demands a response, emphasizing the urgency and gravity of the situation. Gu Jing tries to shift the focus by mentioning his arm injury and his inability to bear prolonged stress. Gu Jing suggests Henning sit down, trying to maintain a calm demeanor despite the tense conversation. Gu Jing reassures Henning, placing a comforting hand on her head to alleviate her fears. Henning insists on her fierceness, while Gu Jing notes her worry disguised as fierceness, suggesting a deeper bond. Henning comments on Gu Jing's ability to smile through adversity and asks if he feels hurt, pondering his resilience. Gu Jing teases that admitting pain could earn him sympathy from Henning, hinting at the emotional complexity between them. A small creature causes surprise as it appears, interrupting the moment between Henning and Gu Jing. Henning inquires if Qiu Fang was responsible for escorting Gu Jing back, probing for information. Gu Jing confirms Qiu Fang's involvement and mentions the general's unsanctioned movement, escalating the situation at the capital's outskirts. Henning, filled with frustration, expresses her suspicion about Qiu Fang's role in the unfolding events. Henning assures Gu Jing of her capability to handle the situation, planning to consult with allies and confront Gu Fang personally. Despite her determination, Henning instructs Gu Jing to focus on recovery, showing care amidst her resolve. The tiny creature chirps as Gu Jing reflects on the importance of allowing time for growth, maintaining his soothing tone. A sense of melancholy surrounds Henning as she lets out a sigh, pondering the challenges ahead. Henning confronts Qiu Fang, questioning his reluctance to return to the capital, and wondering if past actions are responsible for the current distance. Qiu Fang responds skeptically, unclear about Henning's intentions and questioning her motives directly. Henning tries to remind Qiu Fang of their past friendship, hoping to rekindle their bond and resolve misunderstandings. Qiu Fang distances himself, stating his need to attend to other matters, leaving Henning in a state of contemplation. The narrative hints at Henning's emotional turmoil following rejection and questions if she will seek comfort with the Prince Regent.